The news had hit the Greenwich social circle like a tsunami. Kian Ashford, the crown prince of the Ashford Empire, heir to old money that predated half the city, had been pulled from the wreckage of a brutal car crash alive, but barely. The doctors called it a miracle. The tabloids were less kind. They whispered one word over and over: vegetable. And somehow that tragedy had landed squarely on our living room floor. My sister Gemma had been chosen as his spiritual bride. Not a legal wife, not yet, but a proxy marriage arranged by Lady Ashford herself. A woman whose belief in fate, astrology, and spiritual cleansing bordered on obsession. The idea was simple and horrifying. Marry Ken in a ritual ceremony. Cleanse his misfortune. Wake him from his coma. The wedding was scheduled for tomorrow. The night before, Gemma broke. She stood in the middle of our cramped living room, fists clenched, chest heaving, her carefully curated image in tatters. Her face twisted into something ugly and raw. Something I had never seen on my perfect, admired sister. I won't marry him, she screamed, her voice cracking against the low ceiling. I'd rather die than marry that corpse. I'm not wasting my life as a glorified nurse. I froze. Just yesterday, she had been parading around the house, talking about the Ashford fortune like it already belonged to her. Mansions, private jets, a last name that opened every door. Now she looked like someone being dragged to execution. I opened my mouth to calm her, to remind her that this was temporary, that money like that could buy freedom later. Then my vision flickered. Text appeared in mid-air, floating across my sight like subtitles only I could see. Did she just refuse? Finally, the heroine is reborn. Bullet dodged. My breath caught. Previous life summary. Married to a paralyzed husband. Decades of living widowhood. Hard pass. Sure. The Ashfords have old money. Unlimited credit cards. Castles disguised as estates. But Gemma wants love this time. Passion, not catheter schedules. I stared straight ahead. My heart pounding. Unlimited credit cards. Estates. My pupils practically dilated on instinct. Dollar signs spun in my head like a slot machine hitting the jackpot. I'll do it. The words slipped out before I could stop myself. I stepped forward, raising my hand like a volunteer offering themselves to fate, except I was smiling. I'll marry him instead. Gemma collapsed onto the sagging sofa, sobbing into its threadbare cushions, her tears darkening the cheap fabric. Asking me to marry a vegetable, she wailed. Just kill me now. Our parents exchanged frantic looks. Bob and Pamela Tate had always revolved around Gemma, their golden child, their pride. Seeing her unravel shattered them. My mother's jaw tightened. Fine, she said sharply. If you don't want to, you don't have to. We can't let our precious girl suffer like this. My father, on the other hand, looked like his blood pressure had just tripled. Are you insane? He snapped, wiping sweat from his forehead. We're talking about the Ashfords. Their lawyers alone could eat us alive. And the medium said Gemma's birth chart is the only one compatible with Kansas. It's destiny. If we pull out now, Lady Ashford will destroy our trading company before breakfast. I always thought my father was the rational one. Then he sighed. His shoulders sagged and a look of tragic resolve crossed his face like a man preparing for noble ruin. Forget it. Even if we lose everything, even if we end up sleeping in our car, I won't ruin Gemma's happiness. She deserves real love. The floating text exploded with heart emojis. This family is so supportive, I'm crying. If she had been born into a toxic family, they would have sold her off without blinking. Thank goodness for good parents in her past life. The Ashford estate was just a gilded cage anyway. Sure, Michelin chefs and couture gowns, but staring at a Comiomeo's husband every day. Brutal. Gemma deserves fire passion. She missed out on her high school sweetheart last time. This life, she finally gets her scholarship boy. True love wins. It clicked. Gemma wasn't panicking. She remembered. She had lived this life before. Dad pulled out his phone, thumb hovering over the Ashford family lawyer contact. One tap and our family was finished. I couldn't let that happen. Not when a golden ticket was sitting right there. I said, I'll do it. I repeated louder. Mary can go instead. The room went silent. Dad's hand froze midair. Before anyone could react, I bolted down the narrow hallway, skidded into the utility closet. I generously called a bedroom and started shoving clothes into a suitcase. I yanked Gemma's discarded wedding dress off its hanger, wriggled into it without bothering to zip it properly, then dragged my suitcase back toward the living room like I was racing the clock. I burst around the corner, dress trailing, suitcase bumping behind me. My mother's eyes lit up as if she had just remembered something important. Wait, she said slowly. That works. Harper can go. Dad visibly relaxed. Right, he muttered. I almost forgot we had another daughter. Ouch. But I was used to being the spare part in the Tate family machine. Gemma stopped crying instantly. Her tears vanished faster than rain in the desert. Mom, Dad, she said calmly, wiping her face. Tell the Ashfords not to send the limo tomorrow. She looked at me, eyes shining with relief. I smiled back. After all, someone had to marry the crown prince. I'll go right now. Tonight. I waved at them from the doorway, a manic grin stretching my face. Bye, fam, don't wait up. The front door slammed shut behind me with a hollow thud. And I could practically hear the collective sigh of relief leaking through the walls. They were probably already pulling out menus, debating pizza toppings to celebrate saving their precious Gemma. Honestly, I was celebrating too. I hummed under my breath as I dragged my battered suitcase down the cracked sidewalk of Queens, rainwater pooling around my shoes. In my head, Benjamins were already raining from the sky, stuffing my pockets until they burst. No more rent. No more padlocks on my fridge. No more mold creeping up the walls like it was paying rent, too. As I flagged down a cab, the familiar floating text reappeared in front of my eyes. Wait, who is she? Oh, she's the sister. Harper Tate. Total background character. Didn't she have like 2 lines in the original story? Wow, look at her go. Does she know she's about to spend the rest of her life wiping a grown man? I rolled my eyes and leaned back against the taxi seat. Let them talk. Diapers, catheters, cold bodies, please. I had spent years living in a damp basement, juggling 3 jobs just to afford instant noodles. Marrying into the Ashford family meant freedom. No more landlords pounding on my door. No more choosing between electricity and groceries. Most importantly, a husband who couldn't talk, couldn't cheat, and came with an unlimited bank account. That was romance enough for me. One moment, I was surrounded by honking taxis, flickering streetlights, and the sour smell of exhaust. The next, nearly an hour later, I was gliding through wrought iron gates in a black SUV that cost more than my parents' entire company. The Ashford estate rose before me like a foreign country. Manicured lawns stretched endlessly, trimmed so perfectly they looked fake. The main house loomed in pale stone and towering windows like a European castle airlifted straight into America. A butler in a tuxedo met me at the driveway and politely escorted me onto a golf cart. Apparently, walking to the front door was for peasants. Inside, crystal chandeliers rained light from the ceiling. Marble floors reflected my stunned face back at me. Waiting in the foyer was Victoria Ashford, elegant and composed in a vintage Chanel tweed suit, looking every inch the matriarch of an empire. Her sharp gaze swept over me, assessing but not unkind. You are his mother, I said immediately. No hesitation, no small talk. Since I was the proxy bride, I had to use the right name, at least for now. I'm Gemma Tate. Victoria's eyes widened. She rushed forward and clasped my hands, her manicured nails digging slightly into my skin. My dear child, she breathed. The wedding isn't until tomorrow. Why wait? I said earnestly. It's a spiritual alignment, isn't it? If I come earlier, maybe my energy can help him wake up sooner. I delivered the lie with complete sincerity. Victoria froze. Then her eyes filled instantly. This was a woman who had exhausted every doctor, every prayer, every superstition money could buy. My devotion was the miracle she needed to believe in. Oh, you poor sweet girl, she whispered. This is such a sacrifice. It's not a sacrifice, Mom, I said smoothly. It is, she insisted, dabbing delicately at her eyes. She reached into her purse, pulled out a checkbook, and scribbled furiously. When she pressed the paper into my hand, my breath caught. Just a small welcome gift. 5 million, she said softly. And when Kian wakes up, we'll throw you the grandest wedding the East Coast has ever seen. I promise. 5 million. I fought to keep my hands from shaking. You're too kind, I said, somehow managing to sound composed. My suite was already prepared. She informed me. If I disliked the decor, I could redecorate, renovate, or burn it down and start fresh. But first she wanted me to see him. Kian Ashford. I braced myself. I expected tubes, sagging skin, something unsettling enough to explain Gemma's terror. Instead, I walked into what looked like a private ICU disguised as a luxury hotel suite, and gasped. He was beautiful, devastatingly so. Even with monitors beeping softly and tubes trailing from his body, he looked like a fallen angel carved from marble. High cheekbones, pale skin, dark lashes resting against his cheeks. His chest rose and fell slowly, peacefully. Not a vegetable, sleeping beauty. No, a sleeping prince. The chat exploded. That face card never declines. Even in a coma, that jawline could cut glass. Such a waste. Basically a potted plant now though. I want to swap places with the extra hot husband, who doesn't talk back in infinite money. Sign me up. I don't get Gemma. Why run? Homosimerives. Imagine changing his catheter. I stopped listening. Romance was a luxury. I wanted security. I wanted money. I rolled up the sleeves of my wedding dress. I'll check his catheter bag, I announced. Victoria gasped in horror and rushed toward me. Gemma dear, what are you doing? Wheelie duties, I said cheerfully. Absolutely not, she said firmly. We have nurses for that. She gently guided me back. You just sit with him, talk to him, hold his hand, read poetry if you like. She squeezed my fingers, eyes shining with desperate hope. If you bring him back to us, I will give you anything you want. I looked at the man lying peacefully before me. Unlimited money, silent husband, a castle for a home. I smiled. Deal. Anything. For the first time tonight, a tiny flicker of guilt stirred in my chest. Just a flicker. I had done almost nothing except show up, lie confidently, and call her mom. And somehow, I was already $5 million richer. Still, I sighed softly and put on my most sincere, gentle expression. Okay, Mom, I said quietly. I'll just wipe his face. You should go rest. I'll stay here and channel my energy to him. Victoria looked at me as if I had personally descended from heaven. Tears shimmered in her eyes as she reached for my wrist and slid off her diamond bracelet. Vintage Cartier, if my instincts were right. The kind of bracelet that could buy another Manhattan condo without breaking a sweat. She fastened it around my wrist with trembling fingers. Thank you, she whispered. Don't exhaust yourself. I smiled warmly. I loved this woman. I loved rich people. When the heavy oak door finally clicked shut behind her, the room fell into deep silence, broken only by the steady beep of the heart monitor. The sound echoed softly, rhythmic and calm, like a countdown. I exhaled a breath I did not realize I had been holding, and slipped the check out of my pocket. $5 million. Then I looked at the man in the bed. I walked closer, leaning over him until my face hovered inches from his. "Hey hubby," I whispered, poking his cheek lightly. "Warm alive. So here's the deal," I murmured. "I'm your wife now, but spoiler alert, I'm a fake." I glanced at his still face and continued, feeling bold. "Your real fiancée, my sister." "Yeah, she ditched you. Said she'd rather die than be stuck with a vegetable." "Brutal, I know." I grinned to myself. "Everything I told your mom just now, total lies. So please don't wake up, okay?" I giggled, the sound a little unhinged, even to my own ears. "I love a husband who sleeps in and stays out of my business." My gaze drifted downward. "You worked out before the crash, didn't you?" I said appreciatively. "This feels illegal." I laughed softly. "Free male model. And you can't even file a restraining order." I did not notice the faint twitch of his finger against the pristine white sheet. "Oops," I said lightly. "Sorry, I think I drooled on your silk pajamas." I reached for a towel, completely lost in my fantasies of sudden wealth and consequence-free admiration. Then the monitor changed. The steady beeping accelerated into a sharp, frantic rhythm. The line on the screen spiked violently. The door flew open. Victoria rushed in, followed closely by a private doctor. "What happened?" she cried. "Is he okay?" I jumped back instantly, hands raised like I was being arrested. "I didn't do it. I was just praying." The doctor examined the monitors, his brow furrowing. "Strange," he muttered. "His vitals are spiking. Heart rate elevated. Brain activity shows signs of extreme agitation." "Agitation?" Victoria repeated anxiously. "Does that mean he can hear us?" "He's responding to external stimuli," the doctor said slowly. "He must have heard something that excited him or angered him." My blood ran cold. He can hear. So he heard the fake wife part, the baby plan, the drooling. No wonder his heart rate spiked. He was probably trying to wake up just to strangle me. "Gemma," Victoria breathed, clasping her hands together. "You're a miracle. You've been here 10 minutes and he's already reacting. The spiritual alignment is real." She pulled a sleek black metal card from her purse and pressed it into my hand. "The Centurion card. Take some bodyguards tomorrow and go shopping," she said. "You need to relax after this emotional ordeal." "Thank you, Mom," I whispered, fingers trembling as I accepted it. I glanced back at Ken. The monitor was still beeping furiously like it was screaming in code. "I will kill you." Beep. The next morning, I woke up in a bed so soft I briefly wondered if I had died and gone to heaven. Then I remembered I was in the Ashford estate, married to a Comiomeos prince and holding a black card with no spending limit. Heaven could wait. I stretched luxuriously across sheets that probably cost more than my childhood home, then caught sight of myself in the floor-to-ceiling mirror. The wedding dress from last night lay crumpled on the floor like a discarded chrysalis. I was still wearing my ratty tank top and shorts underneath. My phone buzzed. 17 missed calls from Mom, 12 from Dad, 43 texts from Gemma. I opened the group chat. "Gemma, Harper, you actually went through with it. Gemma, call us immediately. Gemma, Mom's having a breakdown. Mom, sweetie, you can still come home. We'll figure something out. Dad, the Ashford sent a confirmation. You're really there." I took a selfie in front of the chandelier in my suite and sent it to the group chat. "Me living my best life. Don't wait up. Possibly ever." Then I muted the conversation. A soft knock interrupted my victory lap. A woman in an actual maid uniform entered carrying what looked like a designer outfit on a hanger. "Good morning, Mrs. Ashford," she said with a slight bow. "Lady Victoria asked me to prepare you for your shopping trip. The car will be ready in an hour." Mrs. Ashford, the title sent a thrill down my spine. "Perfect," I said, channeling every ounce of elegance I could muster. "I'll be ready." The floating text appeared as the maid left. "She's really committing to the bit. Give it a week. She'll crack when she has to do actual wife things." "Like what?" "Spend money. Tough life. Wait until he wakes up and realizes his wife is a fraud." I paused mid-step toward the bathroom. Right. Con could hear, which meant last night's confession had been received loud and clear by a man whose family could probably make me disappear without a trace. I needed insurance. I needed him to stay asleep long enough for me to secure my position, or better yet, make myself indispensable. An hour later, I was sliding into a Mercedes SUV with 2 bodyguards who looked like they bench-pressed luxury cars for fun. The driver handed me an iPad with a list of pre-approved boutiques. I ignored it and pulled up Google. How to care for coma patients. Best gifts for unconscious people. Can people in comas actually hear you? That last search result made my stomach drop. Multiple medical sites confirmed it. Yes, they absolutely could. Change of plans. I told the driver. Take me to a medical supply store first, then a bookstore. The bodyguards exchanged confused glances, but said nothing. If I was going to survive this marriage, I needed to become the best fake wife money could buy. I returned to the estate 6 hours later, arms loaded with shopping bags, but not the kind Victoria probably expected. Medical journals, aromatherapy oils, audiobooks, a Bluetooth speaker, specialized massage tools for circulation. I had even found a ridiculously expensive white noise machine that claimed to promote healing. And yes, okay, I also bought 3 pairs of designer shoes and a handbag. I wasn't a saint. Victoria met me in the foyer, her face lighting up when she saw me. "Did you have a wonderful time, dear?" "I did. I said warmly, then hefted one of the medical supply bags. I also picked up some things for Ken. I've been reading about Komare, and I think we can do more to stimulate his senses. Victoria's eyes welled up instantly. You're searching for him. Of course, I said, mentally apologizing to whatever deity might be listening. He's my husband. She grabbed my hand, and I felt another piece of jewelry slide onto my finger. An emerald ring this time, easily 6 figures. You're an angel, she whispered. I was definitely going to hell, but at least I'd arrive in style. That evening, I set up camp in Ken's room. I arranged the aromatherapy diffuser on the nightstand, loaded a playlist of classical music onto the speaker, and opened one of the medical journals. Okay, hubby, I said quietly, glancing at the door to make sure we were alone. Here's the situation. You heard everything last night, didn't you? The monitor beeped steadily. No spike this time. Look, I know this is weird, but think about it from my perspective. I've been invisible my entire life. My parents forgot I existed half the time, and then this opportunity just appeared. I sat down in the chair beside his bed, studying his face. Even unconscious, he was unfairly attractive. It seemed cruel somehow. I'm not going to hurt you, I continued softly. I'm not going to steal from your family or cause problems. I just want a chance to exist somewhere other than a moldy basement in Queens. Is that so bad? The monitor beeped. I'll take that as understanding, I said. And in exchange, I'll actually take care of you, not just park you here like a houseplant. Deal. I reached out and took his hand. It was warm, the fingers long and elegant. The hand of someone who had never done manual labor in his life. I'll make you a promise, I whispered. I'll be the best fake wife you could ask for. I'll read to you, talk to you, make sure you're comfortable, and when you wake up, we can figure out what happens next. The monitor stayed steady. I opened the first audiobook, a thriller I had picked out on impulse, and let it play softly in the background. Then I pulled out my phone and started researching physical therapy for coma patients. If I was going to do this, I might as well do it right. 3 weeks passed in a blur of luxury and routine. I fell into a pattern. Mornings with Victoria, playing the devoted daughter-in-law over breakfast. Afternoons with Khan, reading aloud, doing passive range of motion exercises I learned from YouTube, talking about everything and nothing. The floating text became constant background noise. She's actually trying. This is weirdly wholesome. Still thinks she's in it for the money, obviously. But at least she's earning it. Gemma's living her best life with that scholarship boy, by the way, as she should. Nobody should marry a vegetable. I had started to hate that word. Ken wasn't a vegetable. His brain was active. The doctors confirmed he was in a minimally conscious state, not a vegetative one. He could hear, could probably understand. He just couldn't respond. Trapped. The thought made my chest tight. Today we're starting chapter 12, I announced, settling into my usual chair with the latest thriller. The detective just figured out the killer's pattern, but obviously she's wrong because we're not even halfway through. I had started doing this, providing commentary on the books I read to him. It made the time pass faster. Made it feel less like talking to a wall. Your mom wants me to attend a charity gala next week. I continued, flipping to the bookmark. Something about maintaining appearances. I'm going to need a crash course in not embarrassing your family. The door opened and I jumped. A man walked in, tall and broad-shouldered with the same sharp cheekbones as Khan, but a harder edge to his expression. He wore a perfectly tailored suit and an expression that could freeze fire. So you're the replacement bride? He said coldly. I stood up slowly. And you are Declan Ashford, Kian's cousin. His eyes swept over me with open disdain. I heard my aunt had lost her mind, but this exceeds expectations. Nice to meet you too, I said evenly. He walked past me to Kian's bedside, his expression softening slightly as he looked down at his cousin. I've been overseas handling the Singapore acquisition, he said quietly. I came back as soon as I heard about this insanity. It's not insanity, I said. It's a spiritual marriage. It's exploitation, he snapped, turning on me. You're not even the sister they originally chose, are you? You're the spare, the backup daughter who saw an opportunity. My face burned. I'm here, aren't I? I'm taking care of him for his money, Declan said flatly. Don't pretend otherwise. I've already spoken to our lawyers. If Kian dies, you get nothing. And when he wakes up, this marriage will be annulled so fast your head will spin. When he wakes up, I repeated, he can make that decision himself. Declan's jaw tightened. Stay away from the business. Stay away from family decisions. You're a glorified nurse, nothing more. He strode out, leaving a cold silence in his wake. I sank back into my chair, hands shaking. The floating text appeared. Oh snap. The cousin's a problem. He's not wrong though. Team Declan, protect Ken from the gold digger. She's been taking care of him for 3 weeks. That counts for something, does it though? I looked at Kian's peaceful face. Your cousin hates me, I said quietly. Fair enough. But I meant what I said. I'm not going anywhere until you wake up and tell me to leave yourself. The monitor beeped steadily. For the first time, I wondered what would happen if he actually did wake up. It happened on a Tuesday. I was in the middle of describing a terrible reality TV show I had been hate watching when Kian's finger moved. Not a twitch, a deliberate curl against the sheet. I froze, my hand hovering over the tablet I had been using to take notes. Did you just his finger moved again? Oh my god. I breathed. Can you hear me? Move your finger once for yes. One curl. My heart hammered against my ribs. I need to get the doctor. Don't go back to sleep or whatever. Just stay with me. I lunged for the call button, then thought better of it and sprinted into the hallway, nearly colliding with a maid. Get Victoria, I shouted. And the doctor. Now the next hour was chaos. Doctors swarmed the room with equipment. Victoria Sobeth. Declan appeared from somewhere, his face pale. I was pushed to the corner, watching as they ran tests, shone lights in Kian's eyes, checked his reflexes. He's coming out of it, the head doctor finally announced slowly, but his brain activity is increasing. This is remarkable. Victoria turned to me, her face wet with tears, and pulled me into a crushing hug. You did this, she whispered. You brought him back. I didn't have the heart to tell her that I had done nothing magical. I had just talked to him, read to him, treated him like a person instead of a tragedy. Over her shoulder, I caught Declan's gaze. He was watching me with an expression I couldn't read. Over the next 3 days, Kian's improvement accelerated. His eyes began to track movement. He could squeeze hands on command. The breathing tube came out, replaced by an oxygen mask. And then on Friday evening, he spoke. I was alone with him, reading the final chapter of our latest book when I heard it. A rough, barely audible whisper. Stop. I nearly dropped the tablet. What? Your commentary is terrible. His eyes were open. Barely, just slits of dark blue, but open and focused on me. You're awake, I whispered. Unfortunately, he rasped. And you're my wife. I nodded slowly. His lips twitched. It might have been an attempt at a smile. It looked more like a grimace. The fake one. My blood turned to ice. You heard all of that. Every word. His voice was getting stronger, though still rough. You drooled on me. I didn't mean to. You called me a houseplant. In my defense, you couldn't respond at the time. Wanted to, he said very badly. We stared at each other for a long moment. So what happens now? I asked quietly. You tell your mother the truth. Get the marriage annulled. Have me arrested for fraud. Ken was quiet for so long I thought he might have fallen back asleep. Then slowly he spoke. You've been here every day? Yes. Reading? Yes. Talking to me? Yes. Exercises? I nodded. He closed his eyes. Then we'll talk when I'm stronger. For now, he paused as if gathering strength. Keep reading, but stop explaining the plot. I can follow it. Despite everything, I laughed. 2 months later, I sat across from Ken in the sunroom of the estate. He had graduated from a wheelchair to a cane, though he rarely used it anymore. Physical therapy had done wonders, and his doctors called his recovery miraculous. I called it stubbornness. So he said, setting down his coffee cup. Let's negotiate. Negotiate, I repeated. Our marriage, he leaned back, studying me with those sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. My mother still believes this is destiny. Declan wants to annul it immediately and possibly have you investigated for fraud. And you? I will not end up in jail. I finished. Understandable. He almost smiled. Here's what I propose. We stay married publicly at least. I blinked. What? You've proven yourself useful, he said bluntly. You kept my mother stable during a crisis. You prevented the tabloids from running wild. And he paused. You treated me like a person when I couldn't defend myself. That counts for something. So this is a business arrangement. Everything in my world is. Ken said, you get to keep the lifestyle, the security, the Ashford name. In exchange, you play the part of devoted wife at public events. Maintain discretion and stay out of company business unless I invite you in. And what do you get? I asked. A wife who doesn't expect romance, he said. Someone who understands this is transactional. And someone who apparently tells terrible jokes while reading thriller novels. I bit my lip. Your cousin will never accept this. Declan will do what I tell him, Kian said flatly. Then his expression softened slightly. And if you want out in a year, we'll arrange a quiet divorce. No scandal, generous settlement. But if you stay, if I stay, then we figure out what this actually is. He extended his hand across the table. Deal. I looked at his hand, then at his face. The sleeping prince who had heard every confession, every desperate word. The man who was offering me not a fairy tale, but something stranger, something real. I took his hand. Deal. The floating text appeared one final time. Wait, is this enemies to lovers? Fake marriage to real marriage pipeline. The heroine is still living her best life with scholarship boy though. Everyone gets a happy ending. We love to see it. This extra just became the main character. I smiled. Let them talk. I was exactly where I wanted to be. Moral of the story, just take the money. Money? Money? And money. But money don't buy happiness. Oh yeah. So where's your money at? Huh. Well, I mean I got some. Maybe. That's what I thought. Brokey. Hey. I ain't brokey. You call that got then stop playing. Alright. You win this round. Over.